Boise State and Baylor. That's a kickoff in the Motel 6 Cactus Bowl. Baylor won the toss, elected to receive. Boise State in the white, lining up, getting set to kick it away. Tyler Rassa, the kicker for the Broncos, and the deep men for Baylor, Tony Nicholson, number 13, one of the return men, along with Graylin Arnold, a freshman who they worked some during bowl practice as a kick returner. He is a speedster. And get an opportunity to see him tonight. Baylor, as you probably are aware, on a 6-game losing streak after starting the season 6-0 at one point this year, ranked as high as number 8 in the AP poll. Rassa puts a foot to it, and we're underway in Phoenix. It is Nicholson. Nicholson looking for a little seam, and he gets across the 20-yard line, and that is where Baylor will put it into play. Our PlayStation View player spotlight is Baylor quarterback Zach Smith, the freshman making his 4th start. He took over after Seth Russell was injured in the Oklahoma game. Smith has thrown for a little better than 1,100 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. What they're looking for him tonight is make the decisions a little quicker, and perhaps having the time off in the end of the season after being thrown into the fire after Russell's injury will benefit him. He's a talented guy, threw for a lot of yards in high school. Those of you watching on ESPN News, we've just got things started. The Motel 6 Cactus Bowl. Baylor opted to receive the opening kickoff, and Terrence Williams just ran from the first play from scrimmage, picked up about 3 yards, and Williams will have it again. And Williams has a good gain up close to first down territory, and he in fact got it. Williams starting at running back as he has. The Bears tonight without Shock Linwood, the all-time leading rusher in Baylor history, who opted not to play in this game, though Shock has been in the doghouse for a good portion of the season. A spin move, and still on his feet after the completed pass from Smith is Chris Platt, and he gets into Boise territory.
If I'm Baylor, I want to see how long I can stay patient. Take the short stuff. Boise likes off coverage. Take the hitches, take the hooks, stay there, and get some completions for your young quarterback.
Direct snap to Williams.
Did you see that?
Williams picks up 1. Reese Davis, Joey Galloway, David Pollack, Molly McGrath with you from Phoenix tonight.
That's what happens when you have time off. You see Zach Smith, he's at tailback, and they fake it to him and keep it. But Baylor playing super fast like we're accustomed to early.
Smith throwing to the outside. And here's the first catch of the night from KD Cannon. Cannon came into the game needing 11 yards to have a 1,000-yard rushing season.
Receiving, yep.
I'm sorry, 1,000-yard receiving season. And he got the 11 right there, so let's put him right at 1,000 for the year. Smith to throw again, this time throwing big and good coverage on the outside, a little bit of contact there. Who's looking for Ishmael Zamora.
I was wondering when the first deep ball was coming. They hit 2 hitches, 2 hooks, nice easy throws, completions, get some yards after the catch. But you know Baylor's offense, Kendall Browse, is eventually going to go downfield regardless of what coverage you play.
Here's Jim Grove, the acting head coach at Baylor. This is his final game. Matt Rule's going to take over after this game, being hired from Temple, as Smith throws back shoulder and throws out of bounds.
And that
didn't take long, Joey.
No, he's warming up. He opened up the deep ball package.
And
he had enough of the hitches.
And if I was them, I'd have done it to that side first, but take the hitches to the boundary, then go long. But here it comes again, don't worry.
See the corners playing off, as Joey mentioned, and he finds a wide open safety. And it's an interception for Chancellor James. And that is something that Boise State has been terrible at this season, candidly. Only 8 turnovers forced all year. That is their 9th.
Reese, you can't miss that one. I mean, you don't have to be good at anything, but you can get this interception. It's thrown right to the safety. It has to be a misread between the quarterback and the receiver. A lot of people like to blame the receiver in these situations, but
it's usually their fault.
It's usually the quarterback.
Anyways, Zach Smith, under pressure this year, has been one of the worst quarterbacks in college football. You saw it right there. When he gets people around him, he's prone to make mistakes and rush his decisions. He's a true freshman. You see it there. But Reese is right. What, 9 takeaways now in the season, right? As opposed to 34 a year ago?
At 31, I believe. They've been over 30. They've never had, in a 16-year span, fewer than 22 prior to this year, and that was just their 9th. Brett Rippon going to throw out of his own end zone, and he overshoots Cedric Wilson. It'll be 2nd down and 10. There is Brett Rippon, our PlayStation View Player Spotlight. 2 times he's been first team All Mountain West Conference, and then in his first 2 seasons at Boise State, got off to a little bit of a slow start, but played better, particularly in the middle of the season. A little bit of a struggle in the Broncos' last loss in the regular season against Air Force, a game that ultimately kept them out of the Mountain West Championship game. Most of Brett's family went to Wazoo, and he didn't do him any favors by beating him, as Jeremy McNichols gets his first carry of the night, and he's knocked rear end over tea kettle in his final college game.
And if I'm Baylor, I'm stacking the line of scrimmage. I'm going to make sure that McNichols can't get off in this game. Rippon has struggled the last 2 games. And so I'm going to make him be the guy that has to beat us tonight. I'm stacking the box and make him throw the ball.
Problem is, they got some playmakers that can make big plays down the field. So if you do that, it's risk reward.
Boise's been good on 3rd down, but they're not going to make this one. They went with the draw to McNichols, and he's hit for a loss. And the Baylor defense playing energized to begin with. Greg Roberts in the backfield to make the stop.
Greg shows you a little bit of power rushing the passer. You know it's a passing situation. On the left side of the screen, you'll see him coming in. Great job. Defensive end, inside of 3 technique, getting up the field, making a play. 2 defensive stops. I don't think we thought we were going to get a lot of those consecutive.
Not this early.
Now punting, about to step on your own out of the end zone here as a punter. You got to be careful.
Sean Whale, an excellent punter for Boise State. Boise State has had some issues in special teams. Whale did have one blocked against Air Force. It was a big play in that game. And this one, he got it out of there, but Baylor's going to have excellent field position right around the 40-yard line. In fact, they're stepping inside, and they'll give it to him at the 38. Smith, first throw after the interceptions, complete. Short gain out to the left side. KD Cannon with the catch.
Joey, let's get back to getting short.
No, seriously.
Let's get back to getting short.
Can you stay there and drive the field? It was working early in the first drive. You went the length of the field. You got down here and you start going deep. Stay where you are. Stay patient.
Patience on the ground from Terrence Williams, who spins into the pile and picks up maybe 1 or so. Operative word of the night for Joseph Scott Galloway is patience.
Yeah, but have you ever known Baylor to be patient? I mean, they're as
that's
fast.
Not how they roll.
No, they're as fast as they can, and that's the problem. You have to dial it back when you have a true freshman quarterback that's going through some growing pains.
All receivers, all backs to the right side of the formation. And just as I say that, we flop the tight end to the other side and move the H-back fullback with him as well and keep it on the ground, and they made the right adjustment as Terrence Williams gets close to the 1st down marker.
Tecklenburg goes at 270, and they moved him to the other side. You can go ahead and call him another tackle. They moved another tackle to the other side to decide to run the ball.
You know who's going to love him? Is Matt Rule. He's one of the best blocking tight ends in college football. You watch him physical. He just slammed somebody right there on that last play.
Fumbled the snap, picks it up, fires to the outside, and then they fumbled the snap, then they dropped the ball, and the Broncos, with a big assist from an unforced error, get the stop.
And that's not an uncommon sight. You've seen a lot of drops this season from KD. Kent makes a lot of big plays, explosive after the catch, but these just run right here. You got to catch the football, Joey. Sometimes you turn your head up. Dude, it's 4th down and 6. You're past the sticks. Catch the ball. Worry about running later.
Yeah, you couldn't see him turn it in that play. Sometimes the ball gets through. That's a play they have to have in this situation. You can see the corner slip. When you put a football field in a baseball stadium at times, the grass is not settled. We've seen a couple guys slip so far tonight.
Well, the slip lets Boise State turn the field position around a little bit. They intercepted a pass inside their own 5 and were backed up the first time they had the ball when they went 3 and out. Jeremy McNichols, who needs 161 yards on the night to set the Boise State single season rushing record.
Reese, what did that slip have to do with catching the football from Joey there?
He's making excuses for receivers already.
I was actually looking at the corner slip that time, and I've seen a few guys slip. That's something to pay attention to as we move forward.
So it had nothing to do with the receiver dropping the ball.
No, he should have caught that.
Okay.
Should have caught it. He knows that.
Okay.
Sometimes a little condensation gets to work on these fields. And Thomas, the normally reliable Thomas Spurbeck, well, you won't see that very often. Spurbeck had one hit him right between the 8 and the 2 and didn't catch it.
That's uncommon.
And now that starts to bring up. Now you've seen Cannon, you've seen Spurbeck, and wonder about the lighting. Are they losing the thing, or just
The
a little
lighting,
amped up early?
the different depth perception in a baseball arena when you bring, stands in. There's a number of things that make a ball look different as they're coming at receiver.
Rippon fires a shot. He ripped it right into Cedric Wilson. That was a sweet throw, and Cedric didn't drop it. The backdrop I understand, but you look at the configuration they've done here at Chase Field, Joey, it doesn't look that much different from a regular football stadium. They've done a nice job adding the bleachers and giving the fans a good vantage point. You're going to see a lot of formations and shifting from Boise State and a lot of tight ends. They have 2 of them in the game now. They're throwing to one of them right down the middle. But Rippon underthrew that one and had it intercepted by the Bears. Second interception of the night, and that was Trayvon Blanchard dropping and making a tremendous grab. Rippon had an opportunity, had Jake Rowe put a little more air under that, and he might have had a score.
Yeah, and he's going to be kicking himself when he looks at this, when he gets to the sideline, sees it on film. Had a receiver open down the middle, just lead him a little bit. Dave, you talked about the big arm. At times, as a quarterback, when you have a big arm, you try to grease the ball in there. Throw it up, let your receiver go get it. You can see there's space. Rowe was behind the defense. Just lob it up and let him go get it.
And he's a sophomore, and he's still learning. Right there, though, is a perfect example. Clean pocket you got all day in the world. Yeah, you don't have to show off the big arm. Throw a little bit of touch and put that in the back of the end zone where your receiver can catch it or the DB doesn't intercept it.
No, it's also not lose sight of the fact that that was a tremendous catch.
It wasn't
so much for the lighting and the backdrops and all of that kind of stuff.
DBs aren't having problems catching the football, Reese.
Nickelback did okay. We had 2 DB catches already tonight, Joey. So Zach Smith goes back to work, and now he's taking a shot deep. And this time, KD Cannon catches it and hangs on. Now Baylor's going to go with a little tempo. And if people can take care of the ball, we're going back and forth down the field. Had a couple of turnovers already in the first half of the first quarter. Pick up a 49 on that strike from Smith to Cannon. Smith back to work. Up to the top and just out of the reach of his intended receiver. That was Ishmael Zamora out there.
And Zach Smith's a true freshman, so he's going to make true freshman mistakes, but he also throws a pretty deep ball at a time, shows you some really good touch. But watch this deep ball. Great job setting his feet. That's on the line. You talk about Rippon wanting to put more air underneath it. That's a 40-yard BB right to the receiver.
Freshman quarterback Zach Smith for the Bears. He is hauled down and slammed down by Sam McCaskill.
Sam McCaskill's a fun player to watch. He's one of those dudes that always flying around, giving a great effort. Pressure. He's got 25% of their pressures this season. I mean, he's the main guy up front that has to get pressure tonight on the quarterback.
When Seth Russell went down, the ability to run the ball as a quarterback is missing now from the Baylor offense. And you can see Zach Smith not as good at taking off and running the football.
Smith to the outside, going over the top. That'll work. Touchdown, KD Cannon.
This was exactly what you want from a corner standpoint. You bail out of there. You can watch the cornerback number 2. He's running out of there as fast as he can. He's got the deep side of the field. Look at him stop and not see where the ball goes. And KD Cannon just leap up and make a heck of a play.
And here's the second question. KD Cannon, 3rd and 20. Why is he by himself with a corner? Bring the safety over. If there's one guy you want to watch in that situation, it's going to be KD Cannon. Make him beat you with someone else.
I mean, Moxie's in a perfect position. You just got to make the play.
Yeah.
Either way you cut it, Moxie's 5'10".
KD Cannon ain't 6'10".
Well, he looked like it on that play.
Cannon,
he did the way he got up.
Cannon needed 11 yards receiving to have a 1,000-yard season. He almost has 100 in the first quarter and a spectacular touchdown catch as the Bears strike first. Culture from the Pepper Hamilton report, one of the things that came under scrutiny and much criticism for Baylor, and one of the things that Matt Rule will have to address, a flag on the play for kicking the ball out of bounds, as we say hello to Molly McGrath.
Well, Reese, Jeremy McNichols announcing that he'll forego his senior season and enter the NFL draft, and McNichols told his coaches and teammates about this after the final game of the regular season, and they're fully supportive of his decision. And McNichols stressed that he never even considered missing this game, calling that selfish and looking at this as an opportunity to be there for his teammates, but a very different situation for Baylor. Shock Linwood sits out to prepare for his NFL career, and quarterback Zach Smith telling me he found out the news on Twitter, and the team is both surprised and disappointed by this decision, Reese.
And Molly, Shock Linwood had several problems during the course of the season. He got into an altercation with a graduate assistant, spent some time on the bench for attitude issues, as the freshman Alexander Madison gives McNichols a break. And McNichols has yet to garner positive yardage tonight. Baylor's been locked in on him. Madison is the next in the line of Boise State running backs that the Broncos have very high hopes for. He's had a really good season spelling McNichols, and he'll be the one expected to carry the load next year as Rippon throws it underneath to Thomas Spurbeck. Taylor Young, who's already had a couple of big hits tonight on the stop.
But it seems like Boise's got it figured out, though, doesn't it, Reese? I mean,
does,
they find. You think about Doug Martin, the muscle hamster years ago, and then Jay Ajayi. That's his name right now, Reese. He changed it once he went to the league.
It's funny. Some in the league say Jay Ajayi. People around Boise will still add a little E at the end of it. But you know
I'm
who
going
you're
with
talking
Ajayi
about.
because I cover college football, and I call it then. And then, obviously, with what McNichols has done, starting to build a little factory here at Boise State of running backs.
Well, McNichols came into this game needing 161 yards to set the single-season record for a Boise State running back. He came in with better than 1,600 yards, also a dangerous receiver. Jeremy McNichols, this is only his second full season as a running back. He came in as more of a slash player, so he's still learning the position.
But he's had a lot of carries. He's had 500 carries in his past 2 seasons. He's had 60 more carries this season he's had last season. That's a lot of wear and tear on a running back's body. It's understandable that he'd want to get out of college now.
Back to McNichols. Lowers those pads and gets down to about the 21. Arnold again on the stop. He's had a busy night. Taylor Young, number 1, also in there for Baylor. And
Young's like he's a Coke can, man. That dude's like 5'8", 250, little dump truck linebacker.
You know, to your point about a guy like Rippon running, even if you don't have the true dual threat quarterback, a guy who picks you up a couple first downs a game just by moving out of the pocket like that can be really dangerous and beneficial. Good play in the open field on Cedric Wilson. Making that stop is Ryan Reed.
You talk about Rippon in the pocket. Baylor's not going to do a lot of exotic blitzes. You know, they just rushed 3 on the last 3rd and 5. And if you're only going to bring 3 and you give Rippon a chance to stand in the pocket and survey the field, then all of a sudden that breakdown with 3 guys, you know there's going to be a lane somewhere to take off and get those 5 or 6 yards when you need to.
Final 25 seconds of the first quarter, 3rd down. Rippon needs 7. Well, half roll to the left, he throws it out. He's got the completion, he's got the first down, and hitting it out there is Jake Rowe from Scottsdale, Arizona. The Broncos practiced at Jake's old high school this week, at Chaparral High School. When he got there, they had a sign welcoming him. Didn't get to use his old locker, though, because they made him dress in the JV locker room.
Get back in the JV locker room.
So Boise State on the move, threatening to tie it up. The only score of the first quarter, a spectacular grab over the top from KD Cannon. A KD TD is the score. Taking a ride in with the parachuters who came in to Chase Field. Now the roof is closed. Fortunately, they left it open long enough for the parachute team to get in. And we start the second quarter. Baylor with a 7-0 lead on Boise State, but the Broncos threatening as we take a look at tonight's keys to the game, brought to you by Franklin American Mortgage.
And it's for Boise, it's just do what they do, especially offensively. It's run the football. They don't forget about McNichols, but also play action pass, take deep shots down the field.
We've already seen Baylor take advantage of going deep. They had a 49-yard pass on their touchdown drive to KD Cannon, and then hit a strike on 3rd and 25. McNichols with a quick cut, breaks 1 tackle. Rippon can't help him, and Jeremy's going to lose a ton as he gets knocked out of bounds. Orion Stewart was there first.
Rippon chose not to help him. show that replay. That Rippon, he goes in there and he says, you know what, Joey? I'll pass.
At some
I don't
point in
really
time, Boise's going to have to get McNichols started. He's been a bit of a struggle early in this game, but to help Rippon out, who's now is warmed up and throwing the ball very well, they're going to need to run the ball better.
And a Mountain West coach tell me this week that Boise State thinks the best thing they do is throw it to the outside, but they'll continue to try to establish the run. He said this in a complimentary way, that Brian Harsin can be pretty stubborn about that. Boise State wants to run the ball, as Rippon, after the overthrows, looking at 3rd and goal. This drive has lasted a while. They've been able to keep Baylor's offense off the field and avoid the tempo. It's Brian Harsin back at his alma mater, 2-0 in bowls, including a Fiesta Bowl win a couple years ago over Arizona. 16th play coming on this drive. 3rd and goal, and 16th play from the 16-yard line. They'll throw it to Rowe. And Rowe is knocked down inside the 10, and one would assume that the Broncos will settle for a field goal, and Rippon is headed to the sideline, though he appears to be walking slowly as if he'd rather not do that. And here comes a field goal unit.
Too bad he didn't have a say. Players don't have a say in that.
It was what my old friend Lou Holtz used to say. He told players, it's up to you on 3rd down. Don't complain about my 4th down decision if you didn't get it done on 3rd.
And you can see the difference in thinking. Baylor with a 3rd and 20 in the red zone. They throw it up to KD Cannon on the outside. Boise State with a similar 3rd and long, they throw the screen.
Here's Tyler Rossa with a 24-yard field goal attempt. He puts a foot through it, and a little bit shorter uprights than perhaps you're accustomed to seeing. He still puts it right down the gut, and the Broncos are on the board. Baylor will get it back when you come back to the Cactus Bowl. Baylor, and here's Jim Grobe, who's in his final game, and Matt Rule is going to join us here in the booth in just a few minutes. As you see, Grobe, who really came in as a favor to the great Baylor former head coach Grant Taff, who asked him to come down and take over after the Bryles fallout.
Impossible situation to come in and take over on.
No question. It is probably the most untenable situation that I've ever seen in college football, and for a while Jim was able to keep it together as Denzel Mims is returning the kickoff for Baylor, and he is stopped inside the 20-yard line. And that leads to be joined by the new head coach of the Bears, who will take over immediately after this game. Matt Rule did such a terrific job of leading Temple to back-to-back 10-win seasons. Matt, congratulations, and thanks for being with us. We just a few moments ago before the commercial break went through all of the challenges and all of the problems that have been evident and Baylor has had to deal with and is still dealing with. Why'd you take the job?
Because I think those kids need a coach, you know, and you know, as I looked at the place, it's a place that has proven they can win. It's a university that has a mission that goes far beyond just academics. They have a commitment to faith. They have a commitment to service. And they had a hard time. But those kids need a coach. And I felt like maybe my wife and I were the right people to go there at the right time.
What was the biggest drawback when you were coming up with the list and going with your gut feeling about whether it was the right thing to do to take the job?
I think the biggest thing was that we weren't from Texas and we hadn't been there before, and you know, it was something that we were really excited about. You know, there's the best high school football in the country is played there in Texas, and the opportunity to recruit within a couple hours of our home was something we were excited about. But just the unfamiliarity with the region was something that, you know, we had to look at. But after that, we said, you know what, this is the right place and the right time.
Zach Smith completing the pass to Zamora to get the first down.
Coach, what's the first thing you do? Reese mentioned you take over starting tomorrow. What is first on your list?
Well, I think it's recruiting. You know, they lost, I think it was 10, 11 kids off of last year's class. So there's a hole there. And there's only one kid committed as we walked in. So there's a real hole in terms of the amount of people. So we wanted to do two things. We wanted to get to know these kids on the team, stay out of the way of the team as they got ready for the bowl. But these kids have been through a lot, and we wanted to make sure that they knew that they had a coaching staff that was there to have their back and also start recruiting.
Coach, you mentioned recruiting, and this is something I've always wondered about coaches that change jobs. You've been recruiting kids to Temple, telling them Temple's the greatest place to go on the face of the planet. Now you change jobs. Do you call those same kids and say, you know, now that I think about it, Baylor is the right place to go?
Yeah, you know what? I didn't call anybody that I had recruited to Temple to come to Baylor, okay. And that wasn't because it's different regions. That was as much as anything just an ethical thing, a moral thing for myself. And you know, Temple's a great place. And as I told our kids at Temple, Temple's way more than Matt Rule. I was just a small piece. That was about those kids. That was about those seniors that built that. And so I was a small cog. And all the kids that are coming in afterwards to play for a great coach in Jeff Collins, they'll do a great job. And now we'll try to do the same thing at Baylor.
Well, Porter is called for that holding penalty. That'll back the Bears up 10.
And when you talk about coming to Texas, how do you do that now? Who do you hire that's familiar with Texas? Because we've seen a lot of fits not work in college football, and a lot of times it's not having that connections and proper relationships with high school coaches and et cetera. So how do you forge that gap?
Well, I think the first thing was I talked to a lot of people and said, hey, will I work in Texas? You know, and here's what they told me. They said Texas high school coaches love two things. They love their players and they love football. And so, you know, that's what I love. And so they said, you know, if that's what you're all about, if you're gonna, wow.
You'd like to get a little bit of that as KD Cannon. Do you love that, Matt? As KD Cannon Cadillacs into the end zone, and he has his second touchdown of the night.
KD's special now. KD's very special.
You going to keep that play in the playbook?
I'm not changing the thing on that one now.
No, how do you recruit him to stay is the question. There's one of your recruits right there if you can get him to stay.
Yeah, he's a special player now. My goodness.
Zach Smith, also another guy on your recruiting list in many respects, has already thrown for 227 yards, a couple of touchdowns.
Yeah, he's a great young player. And you know what? It's like I told all these guys when I met them. I said, listen, transition is never easy. It's not fair to kids when a new coach comes in. But I just promised them, hey, I'm here to be your coach. Even the kids that are done. I met with their parents today. I said, I'm your coach. It's not that, hey, you're leaving, you're off, you know, your eligibility's up. I'm here to be the Baylor coach. I'm here to take care of you. I'm here to have your back. I'm here to still going to have the back of the kids at Temple. Once you play for me, you play for me for life. And so, you know, you asked about recruiting. I think that's all the coaches in Texas wanted to hear was that, hey, we're going to open ourselves up to them. And when kids come to play for us, we're going to take care of them.
A 5-play, 81-yard drive finished off with a strike to KD Cannon, and the Bears are up 14-3. Zach Smith just threw his second touchdown pass of the night to KD Cannon. KD, by the way, just trotted down into the dugout and back to the locker room. We'll see what was going on with that when we get word. And Baylor with a 14-3 lead on Boise State. The Broncos are going to have to get things going. One of the things that Baylor's kicking off from the 20, by the way, because of an unnecessary roughness penalty on Blake Blackmar on the point after. So Broncos have an opportunity to get some solid field position. Cedric Wilson in return, he is knocked down at the 34-yard line. We continue to be joined by new Baylor head coach Matt Rule. Matt, I noticed that Jim Grobe said in part of the things that he had talked to you about that he'd spent the last 6 months basically taking all the bullets and everybody's out of ammunition. I'm not sure if that's totally true. There are still some issues to be dealt with regarding the university's handling of some of the sexual assault allegations. But what about what Jim has told you about the culture, the atmosphere there, and some of the challenges you're going to face?
Well, you know, I think Jim Grobe is one of the gentleman coaches of our generation. He's a guy that when I was a young coach I looked up to. So as I went through the process, I talked to him, and you know, I think to try to figure out, hey, what's going to happen next and all, no one never knows, right? I mean, I felt really good about the fact that, you know, the worst is behind us. We're moving forward as a university. The NCAA stepped in and, you know, sort of said, hey, we're going to let, you know, Baylor investigate on their own. So I felt great about all that. But Jim told me, hey, this is a great roster, a great place with great people. And so once he told me that, I knew we could build something special here.
This is going to be Jim's final game as a head coach. He's going back and retiring back to Georgia. And, you know, he and his wife, I think maybe there was some family strife when he decided to jump back in coaching, at least for a little while, just a little bit. But Jim is certainly one of the great gentlemen in coaching. Penalty on Boise State backed him up and fire out to Sean Modster for the completion. He's up across the first down marker.
Coach, under Browse, we've known Baylor to be big on pass, big offense, not so great on defense. We know you've played linebacker before. What will be different about this team next season and moving forward? What will we see out of this Baylor team?
Well, I hope you see a team that plays really, really hard and plays really physical. I mean, it doesn't, you know, when you see a team that doesn't beat itself, that plays really hard, is really physical, that doesn't require talent. And, you know, eventually we're going to build a team that's dynamic on offense and really, really difficult to defend on defense, or to attack on defense. And that's what we did that's what we did at Temple. And that's, as you look around the teams that compete for a national championship, they can play defense and they can run the ball when they need to. And that's, we want to be fun, we want to go fast at times. But when it comes down to the fourth quarter, when it comes down to December, November, we're going to play defense and we're going to be able to run the football when you know we're running.
Spurback on the catch and another first down for Boise State. And the Broncos putting together a drive. They get it down to the 32 as Rippon throws one into his senior receiver. What would you like to see Baylor do in the non-conference?
You know what? I think as we progress, you know, you'd like to be able to go out and play some of the top teams in the country. You'd like to be able to take our brand of football and take it on the road. But, you know, I'm excited to go play at Duke and play David Cutcliffe and that staff next year. I think there's and here again, I don't even know where I'm living yet, so I'm learning things as I go. But I think there's
Let me find a house first, man.
I think there's an Ole Miss deal. There's a bunch of things down the road, I think. But I know we play at Duke next year, and I have a lot of respect for Coach Cutcliffe as well as some other local teams. But, you know, I think anytime you have a good football team, you want to go play the best.
Coach, a couple years ago, I was covering you guys when you were playing at Penn State. And I come on the field, and I'm looking for you on the field. And I keep seeing this ball boy keep running sprints up and down the field. So I decide I'm going to go ask this ball boy, where's Coach Rule at? I can't find him. I go over, and it's you running sprints. Which coach did you get that from, the sprints before the game?
You know what? I don't work out all week, so I try to make myself feel better right before the game. So I try to make up for the sins of the week. Try to get a couple sprints. And you know what? I'll do that till I can't run anymore. It gets a little bit of the nerves out of my system right before we go play.
So how's the sprint looking? Is it falling off considerably, or are we still staying in good shape?
Well, right now, it's not very good right now. I've been eating, let me tell you something. If anybody wants to come to Baylor, we got the best Tex-Mex Mexican barbecue food I've ever had. So give me a month, and I'll be ready to run again.
Reese got on me and David for wearing jeans in the booth tonight. And as I look, Coach, Reese, are you okay with this outfit that Coach has on?
He's the coach. You're a professional broadcaster, and you're coming here half-dressed.
I don't know how.
Throw from Rippon to Spurbeck. Spurbeck inside the 10 and diving toward the pylon. He stopped just short. It'll be first and goal for the Broncos. Trayvon Blanchard had an interception earlier tonight.
Spurbeck hadn't had the best night catching the football. I had several drops, but great job catching
the football. From the slot. He came from the slot and ran the outcut.
Run out of bounds,
outside
dude.
Receiver ran him off. And really nice route by Spurbeck. When you watch him play, he's a terrific route runner, and that's why Rippon can always find him. The great route runners make it so much easier for a quarterback to connect with.
Yeah, Spurbeck stepped out of bounds on the 7, but still first and goal for Boise State.
McNichols time.
Fake to McNichols over the middle. Intercepted. Another underthrown ball in the middle of the field.
And
Orion Stewart, perhaps with a tactical error, coming out of the end zone. That's going to hurt the field position, but it does stop another Boise State drive. Matt, thank you so much for joining us. Wish you the best of luck. And for the first time in their married life, I believe, Matt and his wife Julie are going to sit in the stands and watch a football game together, right?
We're going to hold hands and have popcorn.
There you go.
Well, bring us some popcorn.
Yeah, bring us some, please.
How about that
with
defense in the Big 12, baby?
Matt, thanks a lot. Boise State away from home for a Christmas party. Exchange gift cleared by NCAA compliance, by the way, and singing Christmas carols. But
you know I have no problem with that whatsoever.
I do not.
That's
and
outstanding.
Molly McGrath, Boise State still in a benevolent spirit, giving away gifts, a couple of them to Baylor so far.
Yeah, that's right. Orion Stewart saved the ball after that interception, but defensive coordinator Phil Bennett not happy. He just went up to Stewart and said, great play there, but you just cost us 25 yards.
He had the interception in the end zone. I think it's 20, but point's still well taken. It's 20, but Phil's point's still well taken. And Stewart wanted to run that thing out, and he got tackled on the 1.
Reese, when you make a play like that in the end zone, save points, you're allowed to do that. If you want to run it out, it's okay.
That's the only way to return one 103 yards. That's right. You got to take a shot at it.
Yeah. You'd like him to stay in, but you know what?
It's a bowl game. Take your shot.
Absolutely. And he's a senior, got his 6th interception of the year. Hey, you know what? Give it a whirl. He got a 14-3 lead. And now Zach Smith goes back to work. And fires it out quickly, and a little breathing room for the Bears as they get it out across the 10-yard line. That's Pooh Strickland.
They got Boise's head swimming at the cornerback, man. They're hitting him with deep shots left and right. Now, while we did that interview with Rule, I've also been hitting the quick game left and right.
Well, if you enjoy watching Pitt's offense this year, then you'll enjoy watching LSU's offense next year. And Matt Canada, the offensive coordinator, moving from Pittsburgh to join Coach O at LSU.
And that's been an issue for LSU, and one we've talked about for a number of years is their struggles on the offensive side of the ball. Great running back, and Geis coming back. Fournette will be gone. And then Matt Canada come with that offense. How exciting.
I think David likes to refer to the run-pass options, the offensive lineman blocking, running, and throwing a pass. I think he refers to it as cheating.
It is cheating.
And every defensive coordinator agrees with you.
Yeah,
When I was calling games, it always was a discussion of how are you supposed to defend these plays when offensive linemen are blocking downfield.
It's horrible.
Low punt, Cedric Wilson's waving the arm, makes the fair catch, but we have a flag down as the punter got drilled, A.J. Richardson. And he ran into the punter. Drew Gallett's got hit.
Into the kicker, number 28 of the defense. That 5-yard penalty results in a first down.
The 5-yard penalty give him the first down as we take a look at this again with Richardson coming in on Gallett's the punter.
I don't think he touched him.
I don't.
And the Academy Award goes to.
Well, I think
That's like soccer.
he might actually have hurt himself though. Either that or it is the old soccer injury. He kind of rolled the ankle in the plant leg just a little, but it didn't. It wasn't because anybody ran into him. That's a mess.
Yeah, soccer would be proud of that move right there.
Line. Mono Ginobili would be proud of that move.
Not a soccer play.
Reese, what about special teams for Boise, though?
Well, I mean, that wasn't an error. I mean, that was a missed call by the officiating crew, but Boise State has had a multitude of special teams miscues this year. They had a punt blocked against Air Force. It was an important play in the game. They've had 3 onside kicks recovered against them. They've had an inordinate number of punts fair caught inside their own 8-yard line. And the list goes on and on. They've given up a 100-yard kickoff return for a touchdown, and they are special teams efficiency among the bottom 7 teams in the country as Baylor picks up a first down to Chris Platt.
Reese, with all the things we review, why can't that be reviewed? I mean, that's a change of possession play. I mean, that's as big as a turnover for a team right there. To leave Baylor on the field, if you're Boise State, you've struggled to slow down this Baylor offense. A bad call gives Baylor the football. That should also be something they buzz down from the booth and say, we need to look at it. That's a bad call.
I disagree strongly because the game's already taken 5.5 hours now.
It throws it to Platt. Platt's inside the 30, and Baylor's mounting another drive. And with Boise State's turnover problems, you get the feeling the Broncos are not too far away from getting themselves in some serious trouble.
You got a lot of D linemen with their hands on their hips too, and all these long drives.
Michael Hasty getting a carry, and Hasty driving it down to the 15-yard line.
And this is why it's not a big deal at all of not having Shock Linwood. It doesn't matter at all. It doesn't affect this offense the slightest bit. They've got other guys like Hasty and Williams that fill in that do a great job, just as good as Shock Linwood.
And if you're just joining us, Shock Linwood, Baylor's all-time leading rusher, choosing not to play in this game and prepare himself for the NFL draft. Linwood's had other disciplinary problems this year. Hasty has no problem finding running room right through the teeth of that Boise State defense. He stopped just short of the 5, and he got the first down. It'll be first and goal.
The D-line for Boise State is giving very little resistance. They've been out on the field for a number of plays now. And this is the part when you go fast, you keep those defensive linemen on the field.
Well, Boise State has been average on defense in terms of yards per game. They've almost given up their entire total, and now they've given up another touchdown to Jermichael Hasty, and Baylor stretches its lead to 20-3 with the extra point pending. How about that? And now they got the benefit of the questionable call and the penalty.
A bad call.
But the result is a 99-yard drive.
Yeah, it was questionable, all right.
Okay, it was bad.
Yeah, give the assist to the punter.
Punters are players too.
Sometimes.
Stop it,
punters
Reese.
and kickers.
Stop. You're just trying to take me off over here.
Chris Callahan, also a player, on for the extra point. And he boots it through.
And the Academy Award goes to
Drew Gallant. A gallant effort by
You
him.
can still buzz down right now, Reese.
Too late. Baylor, meanwhile, has scored touchdowns on each of its last 3 possessions, 14 points coming off a pair of Boise State turnovers. The Broncos come into this game with 14 consecutive senior classes who had 40 victories in their careers. Right now, this senior class is sitting on 39, so Boise State better get to work. Kickoff out of bounds. Yeah.
But the Boise State defense is so happy that the offense got a first down so they can catch their breath because they're struggling. They're tired right now.
Yeah, first half so far with the last 3 minutes and change going. Prior to that run from McNichols.
That's a good physical
Baylor,
run right
yeah,
there,
Baylor
too.
has doubled up Boise State in yardage so far in the first half. And, of course, the 2 turnovers that Boise State had, both passes intercepted inside the Baylor 5-yard line. So those are a couple of scoring opportunities that went awry. Another completion to Anderson, and Rippon throws it for the first down. And Boise State's got another drive going, but now the object is to take care of the football and try to get back in the game.
They've struggled. How about we talk about coming into this game, Baylor, and do they have the motivation? This is a heck of a job right here and what they're doing so far. You can tell, playing hard, flying around.
Got it off to Spurback just as he was hit. A pickup of about 3 down to the 30-yard line.
And we talk about the scholarship limitations. Flag.
Boise State's been given its first sideline warning of the game.
But when you talk about the young guys, Reese, or not having a lot of scholarship athletes, they have a lot of guys, Baylor, that has played a lot of football, though. When you look at their offensive line and almost everybody coming back except for their center, you look at skill positions, you look at their defense, they got a ton of guys with a ton of experience that will be coming back for Matt Rule and his company.
There are, but just not a lot of them. I mean, that's I mean, you're getting down to USC at the height of the sanctions numbers when you get down into the mid-50s. But a lot of it depends on how well Matt can recruit and boost some of that depth. The recruiting class last year, many of whom, especially the high-profile players, opted not to come to Baylor after the scandal and the removal of Art Briles. That certainly hurt them for the long term.
But one thing that he did great at Temple was more with less. He took recruiting classes that weren't ranked really high and produced and won a championship there. So you got to believe in Matt Rule's ability to do that.
When you're down in numbers, and every coach will tell you this, it makes it difficult to practice. And Coach Rule talked about
being
able
physical.
to make Tuesdays physical in hard practices. When you're down in numbers, don't have a lot of depth, that makes it much more difficult to practice hard.
All right, let's lock in on this drive here. 4th down now coming for Boise State. And Brett Rippon surges ahead. Quarterback sneak successful, unlike on the goal line against Air Force in their last regular season game. This Boise State team, though, even though they lost a couple of games, disappointed not to have won the Mountain West Conference, still just 9 points away from being undefeated. Lost a game by 2 on a late safety against Craig Bowles' much improved Wyoming team, and then the 7-point loss to Air Force. Alexander Madison is checked in. Hard count almost gets Baylor to jump. They get back. There's the freshman Madison plowing straight ahead.
And he looks like that next one that's just going to step in and produce like all these Boise backs you've seen in the past too. That same type of build, that same type of mold. He's going to be just the next in line. I mean, now you got to start taking some shots to the end zone with your lack of timeouts.
Yeah, I have 1 timeout left, and see what Smith does. This is the area of the field he's had a little trouble in the first half, and he throws it over the top.
And he had Spurbeck in the back of the end zone early on that play, just didn't get a chance to get the ball out of his hands on time. And once you don't get out of your hands on time at the goal line, it just becomes more and more difficult because there's just not a lot of room to work with.
Yeah, I think I might have said Smith. They were obviously Brett Rippon, the quarterback for Boise State. Rippon in the first half, thrown it 27 times, completed 17 of them for 148 yards, thrown a couple of picks, as we've mentioned more often than Brett and his family would like to hear, I'm sure.
Spurback in the slot right here. He catches a lot of jump balls well.
Going to Wilson, and not much of a chance there. Braylon Arnold among the Baylor defenders in that portion of the end zone. Now 3rd down and 10 with 24 ticks remaining in the first half.
It's going to be tough to throw a fade to the side of the field that Spurbeck is on. David, you point him out in the slot, and you can see Baylor with 3 guys on that side because they had their eyes on Spurbeck on the inside to make sure he didn't get anywhere. An easy play for the safety and the corner to get over to defend the fade.
You know, Boise State has been really good on 3rd down tonight. They've converted 8 out of 12. They could certainly use one here. 24 ticks remaining. Single timeout remaining in the Broncos' pocket. Here's Rippon. Dumps it underneath. McNichols tackled after a short gain just inside the 10. Clock continuing to wind, but Boise quickly calls the timeout. Patrick Levels making the stop. Good open field
I
tackle.
never understand why you take
called it with
timeouts.
16 though.
So Tyler Rassa going to try to knock through his second field goal. He made one from 24, this one from 26, and it too is good. So Baylor with a 21-6 lead on Boise State. Molly McGrath will talk with Jim Grove coming up in a little bit, but first we go back to Adnan Virk and Booger McFarland in the studio, guys. Welcome back to the Motel 6 Cactus Bowl as part of Capital One Bowl Mania. Just about set for the start of the third quarter here at Chase Field in Phoenix. A first half where the Bears were sicking them. Baylor with a 21-6 lead on Boise State. Broncos are going to get the ball first. Reese Davis, Joey Galloway, David Pollack, and Molly McGrath with you. Glad to have you with us. Fourth of 4 games here on ESPN on this day as we get close to winding down 2016. And boy, Katie Cannon absolutely put on a show in the first half for Baylor. And that came up after a bit of a rough start for the Baylor wide receiver. You know, you look at as we get ready for the second half kickoff here. Boise State ran 50 plays in the first half. They went 8 of 13 on third down, converted a couple of fourth downs. And all they had to show for it is 2 field goals. And Cedric Wilson are trying to give them some good field position. He stumbles across the 20 and stops at the 21 as we check in with Molly.
Well, Reese, Coach Brian Harsin stressed that they need to get their run game going. He said their O-line got into a groove in the second quarter, but he wants to see more of that. And as far as their quarterback, he wants Brett Rippon to finish in the red zone. He needs to limit those turnovers. And as far as that infamous roughing the kicker call, he said that was a really tough call that hurt their momentum a lot, Reese.
Tough call, says Brian Harsin.
It's a good
what
way to
say
put it.
you, Joey Galloway?
Yeah, I say that change of possession calls should be able to be reviewed, Reese. The ball was punted. That's as big as a turnover.
If you missed it, it was the best acting job of the year.
Yeah, bad call is what Joey called. He saw Brett Rippon's numbers not exactly stellar in the first half. And they keep it on the ground, and then Jeremy McNichols getting a little tangled up with Taylor Young. But a good pickup on first down for McNichols. Jeremy playing his last game at Boise State. He's announced that he will opt for the draft. And McNichols has now carried it 16 times for 42 yards.
And that looks horrible, but it's actually it's getting better. It's improving throughout the game.
He had a couple of big loss plays. And now you see what Boise State wants to do. They want to establish a physical nature, and McNichols is the guy to do it. A couple of carries and a first down for the Broncos.
And Boise actually had the ball for 6 more minutes in the first half than Baylor had the ball. It's just the explosive plays that they gave up to the Baylor offense that made it feel worse. And you mentioned they were good on third downs. They possessed the ball, and toward the end of the first half, they started to run the ball. Come out in the second half, stick with your game plan. You see early, give the ball to McNichols.
Then Alexander Madison nosing into Baylor territory. He's giving McNichols a break. Now things starting to get a little chippy. Both teams have the reputation for playing with a little bit of an edge, and it served them well in most cases. Baylor perhaps lost a little bit of that during the 6-game losing streak, at least in some of those cases.
Sure,
they're trying to break tonight. They found it in the first half. Boy, they showed a lot of character coming out and playing with that as McNichols slips a tackle, and Jeremy McNichols out of the backfield gets a first down.
And I think this is what makes him really special. He's a complete back. He can block, he can catch, he can run. He really can do it all out of the backfield. That streak's in danger tonight.
That's the longest run in 10 years that McNichols has. Nobody's found the end zone dressed in orange and blue so far.
There you go. More traditional Boise offense there. You've seen some trades and some motions. Now you split McNichols out, who was a wide receiver up at the top. McNichols.
And now Madison's in the game, and he's in line. And here's the double pass. Spurback going to pull it down and keep it. Thomas Spurback wanted to throw it, and he's gets it inside the 30 before he's pushed out of bounds. And Spurback didn't want to mess up his record.
And look
He's
at all,
had 3 passes this year, all have gone for touchdowns.
and look what they do, Reese. I mean, you got 2 shifts and trades and motions, and then you throw it, and then you throw it. And this is a good decision, by the way. It wasn't there. Most of the time when you're a receiver and you get the ball, Joey,
I'm throwing it.
you're throwing it because you don't get that option.
I'm only going to get one chance a season. I'm going to throw the ball.
He was a quarterback in high school.
That was a wise decision.
Great decision.
They have not been successful enough on that type of play, the receiver screen, to make the Baylor defense come up. And that's why they were comfortable sitting back.
Quarterback instincts running deep for Spurbeck, too. His dad, Marshall, was a quarterback at Nevada. Spent a few years as head coach at Sacramento State, so a heady play.
That's what you expect from him.
Yeah. Got the first down. Now pick up of a couple on the run. It's 2nd down and 8 as they get deep into Baylor territory. This is where misfortune has struck for the Broncos tonight. Brett Rippon down the middle, got his man. 1st down and 1st and goal. Jake Rowe, the tight end, playing in front of many of his home folks from Scottsdale, Arizona, makes the catch.
And you can see the rhythm and the mix of plays. Came out in the 2nd half running the ball early. Now they've had some play action pass. They run a trick play. They've gone down the field. You can see the rhythm starting to build for this young quarterback in this offense.
Problem is they're in the red zone again.
Molly was talking about this, Brian Harsin. This is where you got to take care of the ball. And they get nothing on the 1st down run. It'll be 2nd goal. Might have lost half a yard.
It's a great job by Rippon. Look at him look to his right, survey the field, and then hit his tight end over the middle. But he did it quick. That's great. Great job of surveying the field, making a decision, and letting it rip. Now he's got to do it tighter windows down here.
Yeah, and that's the
the
problem.
goal line.
Now he's not going to do anything except go out for a pass. He split wide to the left. Direct snap to Wilson. Cedric Wilson. It's inside the 5.
And that's a big play. You're talking about 2nd and goal from the 10, and that's been the issue when they get these long plays in goal, and you have to throw the ball to the end zone, and that's where he's made the interceptions, the bad plays in the red zone. Now this is more manageable. Now it's a 3rd down, and you only need 4 to get in the end zone.
You know what else it tells me? They're going for it on 4th down.
Well, and
if they need to go, they're going. That's 3 down territory.
look at the formation right now. Rippon is off the field. McNichols getting the direct snap. McNichols looking for running room, and he'll not find it. Tremendous play again by Orion Stewart. How good has he been defending his goal line?
Knocking folks out, getting interceptions. Look at him come off the edge. I mean, he comes all the way from the backside. Does a great job getting McNichols. And
this is surprising to me.
Would you kick the field goal
I would
here?
absolutely kick the field goal here. I mean, this is early in the 2nd half. I would take the points.
The way my defense has played, I might just go for it. I mean, I hadn't stopped them all night, so.
Well, you did stop them, then a bad call. You had to stay on the field.
Fade. Wilson didn't get it, and another stop for Baylor. How about that defense and the coverage from Ryan Reed?
Now you've had a great drive on offense, a great come out in the 2nd half, and you go home empty-handed because you decided to go for it on 4th down. I disagree.
That's a good throw. You got to make that catch. I mean, that's a great throw. Back of the end zone. Look at this. You got to help your quarterback out, man.
Still
you need a play.
Still a lot of time to go here, but how demoralizing is that for the Broncos? That was a dangerous little screen out to Zamora. I want you to think about the last 4 drives for Boise State. In the last 4 drives, the Broncos have run 55 plays, had all 4 drives stall out inside the Baylor 10, and they've got a grand total of 6 points to show for it.
Which is why I'm kicking the field goal on the last possession. I just want to change the momentum. I want to get points. And now you come out with a terrific drive that ended with no points. The momentum is still on Baylor's side.
Take a guess who Zach Smith threw the ball to there.
Is anybody else driving anybody else crazy? I mean, you're 20 yards off. You're looking right now.
Zach Smith, plenty of time, great protection up front. Now he's rolling to the side, and he's finally knocked down. Ben Weaver makes the stop. I'm not sure that Smith could have thrown that ball. Obviously could have, but I'm not sure it would have been legal. It almost looked as if he crossed the line of scrimmage and then went back.
I thought so too, and it looked like he ran for 25 yards to gain 1. Just get upfield and get a couple positive yards and get down. Scrambling is not his forte. We saw playing earlier in the game where he stayed alive and then completed a ball, but he's not going to scramble and kill you. Just get as much positive yards as possible.
Tough running on the inside from Terrence Williams. Williams has been reliable now. 12 carries, 47 yards, just shade under 4 yards per carry. And it's about what Terrence gets there to convert on 3rd down. This feels like, especially after the stop on 4th down, a drive where the Bronco defense needs to get a stop. Fake to Williams, pulled it out, throws it into the middle, throws a strike. It's complete inside the 30-yard line, and Baylor continues to keep it moving. It was Pooh Strickland, the redshirt freshman, who's questionable coming into this game with a leg injury, but Pooh makes another catch.
How about that pass, though? Talk about getting pressured, resetting your feet, and throwing a strike. That was a heck of a throw by Smith.
Picked up 22. Now Platt has it along the sideline before he's shoved out of bounds, and now the Broncos are reeling on defense.
This is awesome right here. True fresh. Look at him pump right, gets pressure, throws across his body. That's big time.
Smith to the outside. Cannon's got a little help out there, but it closes quickly. Not much running room this time as Raymond Ford was there for the Broncos.
It's another third down for this Boise State defense, and it's a 3rd and short. And they've struggled with this 3-4 defense to stop these 1-yard runs by Baylor. Let's see if they do it again.
Smith firing in just off the hands of KD Cannon. Ford on the coverage.
What a throw. It was incomplete, but what a throw from the pocket. Feet set, on time, on the money.
And it's easier on defense when you don't have as much ground to cover and you know the end zone's back there to cover. It's great coverage.
You can't throw any better than that.
We've been beating them up all night in the back end, but that was a heck of a job by Raymond Ford getting a stop.
Now Chris Callahan going to try to attack a field goal on for Baylor. It's a 34-yard attempt. Callahan's boot is on the way, and it is true. And there is a flag. Flag flew in there, so let's
stop the music.
Field goal is good. After the play, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 64. The penalty being on the kickoff. Timeout.
That one coming from Dom D'Souza. Second time tonight. Baylor's going to kick off from the 20, much to the dismay of Jim Crow. You see some of the Baylor players visiting with folks serving some meals during their time here in Phoenix at the Motel 6 Cactus Bowl. And the Bears have come to play. They just finished off a 21-play drive that ended in a field goal. Their last 2 scoring drives covered 36 plays. This has been unusual for these 2 teams, the way they've controlled the ball and chewed the clock. Second time tonight that the Bears wind up with a penalty that results in them kicking off from the 20. So Boise State, 3:18 to go in the 3rd quarter, down by 18. Need to get busy. Cedric Wilson. And Wilson, I'm not so sure he didn't get taken out by his own man, but he gets it back up to the 30-yard line. Broncos have yet to find the end zone. They'll try to put together a drive when you come back. So Thomas Spurbeck with the short catch, picks up about 5 out to the 36. Spurbeck's hobbling a little bit in his final game as a Bronco.
Have to drag him off the field, though, probably.
No question. He has been a tough and talented competitor, one of the best ones in a long line of good receivers that Chris Peterson and now Brian Harsin has had at Boise State. Now here come the flags again as we.
That's Reed, I think, number 9.
Yep.
After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct, number 9 of the defense. 15-yard penalty, automatic, first down. It's number 9's first unsportsmanlike foul of the game.
Well, this is the kind of thing that's been frustrating this year for Baylor. Just some things that aren't smart football. There's the tackle.
Heck of a job by Young and that D-line all night. They've dominated up front.
Yeah, that was not the personal foul. No, that was not the unsportsmanlike.
And that was set up
conduct.
a 3rd down and a chance for the defense to get off the field. And now you've given up a first down to Boise State.
Yeah, Baylor just picked up its 4th unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. They are in control of this game late in the 3rd quarter. Rippin. Short gain. Again, looking for the big fellas. It's the tight ends. That one was Chase Blakely making the catch.
And if you're Baylor,
right on the stop.
If you're Baylor, you'll give up the 3-yard pass all night long. They've done a really good job. Dave, you mentioned earlier that this Boise State offense wants to run the ball, play action pass, go down deep, go for the deep ball, the big play. And Baylor's defense done a terrific job of not giving up that big play and forcing Rippin to throw underneath for the shorter passes.
Baylor substituting their entire defensive front. Rippon is looking at a 2nd and 8. And he runs out of time. He thought he had some time, but K.J. Smith showed up and
he's
swallowed
a
up
beast.
Rippon.
He's a beast. He's one of the best players along the defensive front. He's the best player on this Baylor D. And you watch him come off the left side. Look at that swim move over top. Splits another guy. Relentless, plays hard. Good against the run, good against the pass. He's the best player on that Baylor defense.
Final minute of the 3rd quarter. Now it's 3rd down and 16.
Rippon had to be thinking they're rushing 3. There's
good.
no way they're getting there this fast.
Well, they had him picked up, and then he got away. McNichols underneath. They get 6 of the 16 they needed, so now they're looking at a 4th down and 10. Probably out of field goal range. Final seconds are ticking off here in the 3rd quarter, so they'll have a little more time to think about it between quarters. And hey, look, with all the magic Boise State has had in the desert, you don't want to count them out, but this feels like the play they need to make if they want to stay in this game. 4th quarter coming from the Motel 6 Cactus Bowl. 4th quarter about to start at the Motel 6 Cactus Bowl, part of Capital One Bowl Mania, downtown Phoenix. Skating around Christmas tree, all types of activities. Come to the desert, will be chilly at night. As it turns out, chilly enough to keep the ice frozen. Some triple sow cows.
I did not come to Phoenix to see ice, Reese. Where is the sun?
We had sun today. It was a beautiful day today. It's a little chilly at night. This is 4th down and 10 as we start the 4th quarter. Boise State trailing 24-6. Brett Rippon stands in, fires a strike. He's got the 1st down. Chaz Anderson on the catch.
David, I've never understood why you defenders cover space in your zone. Like, I mean, Baylor had guys back there, and they just don't cover the guy. There's only a couple
I like how you
receivers
say
out
you
there.
guys.
Okay, we have another flag down here, guys. So let's see what this is about.
There is no foul on the play. Result is a 1st down, Boise State.
I know, explain that to me. I mean, turn around and cover the curl.
Yeah, I get it, but you obviously have a lot of guys out in a route, and you're trying to cover the area and read the quarterback's eyes and break on the ball and make a play. Make him throw the ball in the tight windows. It's obviously something that Rippon struggled tonight on. He's had several turnovers, so it's easy to read when you play man coverage, man. It's easy. Throw the guy who's covered the open.
Rippon. Oh, he had a chance with Spurbeck to have a nice pickup, but didn't connect.
And here's a zone. They're rushing 3. You got 8 in coverage. See what I mean? Like, there is a curl, and you have 4 guys around. One of the linebackers turn around, look up the curl, and cover it.
That should have been Edwards right there. You saw number 20. When the quarterback looks away in zone coverage, you should be shifting over with his eyes, and that would have moved him closer, but it was a heck of a throw by Rippon.
Yeah, great throw.
There's Rippon, and McNichols is greeted in the backfield, and Baylor just hasn't let Jeremy McNichols get started all night. Graylin Arnold's had an outstanding game. The freshman has played well from his cornerback spot, both in coverage and in run support.
I don't know if I've ever said this about Baylor's defense, but if you're Matt Rule, you're pretty excited about the way this defense has played tonight. With the excitement, they've had their penalties and there's been some issues, but the excitement level on the defensive side of this Baylor team has been really good tonight.
That's the 4th time tonight that McNichols has been tackled behind the line of scrimmage. Plenty of time for Rippon. Now he's going to scramble, and Rippon gets inside the 20. Ball comes loose. Baylor picked it up. Haven't heard a whistle, and Orion Stewart has it. Orion Stewart finally upended just across the 25. And Ryan Stewart had an interception in the end zone, had a tackle late on the drive from Boise State, and now comes up with a loose football. It's the 3rd turnover of the night for Boise State.
I thought he was close to being down, but it was definitely no.
That thing's coming
What a
loose.
great rip.
Man, great play.
Great hustle, first of all, to get down the field, and then the awareness to rip that thing out. Watch him.
I think it's Greg Roberts that got it, David. There he is, number 52, coming in.
That's awesome.
Terrific play.
Was any part of him down? Elbow there? Other leg?
It looked like the ball was already moving.
Yeah, I
and
think
if
so
it's
too.
moving, it doesn't matter at that point.
And by the time his shin made contact, I don't know if the ball was moving as well. So another turnover, and
there you go, Baylor D talking about Joe. I mean, that's 3 forced turnovers.
They came into this game -7 on the season in turnovers, same as Boise State. Tonight, Baylor has been +2, and that's been the story of the game. That's been the biggest difference.
I've been as hard on Big 12 defense and Baylor playing no defense as anybody. And David, you mentioned it when we were talking to Matt Rule about nobody plays defense in the Big 12. But this is a big feather in the cap of Baylor's defense, shutting down a Boise State offense. And Reese, you mentioned it. They're able to move the ball, but they haven't been able to finish. And that's really what matters. When you're playing defense, it doesn't matter how many yards you give up. You'll look at the scoreboard and say, we've held this team to 6 points so far in this game and created some turnovers.
But isn't that the object in the Big 12 with the way the offenses are?
Red zone.
You're not going to be able to stop those types of offenses from gaining yardage. But you have to make stops in the red zone, and Baylor has done that beautifully tonight. Behind there's their defensive coordinator, Phil Bennett. And Williams finds a gaping hole in the middle, and he gets down to the 29. Another first down for the Bears, and they're starting to put their foot on the throats of Boise State.
And we talked about it earlier, Shock Linwood not playing this ball game. Terrence Williams showing you why it really doesn't matter.
Here's Williams. Saw Jermichael Hasty also come into the game earlier and score a touchdown. And Shock Linwood, and we've been rough on him, but not unfairly in my judgment. He had some issues during this season, but that's not to take away from the fact that he had a terrific career for Baylor. Their all-time leading rusher with more than 4,200 yards. And there is Hasty returning, but Linwood opting not to play in this game, as some other running backs across the country have. And Hasty stopped by Darren Lee.
I haven't called his name much tonight. He's a really good football player.
Yeah, he is.
They've needed more plays from him and this whole defense.
Well, you know, the defense of Boise State really been hit by injuries, particularly to the linebacking core, with Tanner Vallejo opting to have wrist surgery late in the year. He was popping his wrist back in place to try to continue to play. After a while, that became unworkable. Joe Martirano, who's a Chicago Cubs farmhand who's been concentrating on football, is also injured and out for the season. Another catch from Cannon. But the one thing, Boise State's had depth at linebacker. So you've had guys like Darren Lee and Ben Weaver and Blake Whitlock who've played really well. And they haven't been able to slow down Baylor effectively tonight. Hasty is patient as he gets inside the 15.
Yep, great patience. Hiding behind the line, not getting too
Guys, this
excited,
is
sticking up in there.
Baylor had a 21-play drive for a field goal earlier. This is about to be the 12th snap of this drive. We've had 1 3-and-out for both teams tonight. It was the first possession of the game for Boise State. Smith firing. Ismail Zamora, did he get any? He did, and that might be all she wrote. And flag's coming because he spiked the ball. I'm just coming to the point where I'm starting to wonder if it's just a strategy that Baylor prefers to kick off from the 20.
Because it gets them closer to the red zone where they can give up less yards, but then just get that turnover in the red zone or that stop. But
yeah, he's not going to feel great if he gets stopped short of the goal line, so let's have another look.
Hey, Joey,
did.
if I said
touchdown
off coverage again from Boise State, what you would say?
Well, I can't figure out the off coverage with the 3 guys rushing the quarterback.
I would have a sneaking suspicion that that will be something that is handled differently
with a new reign.
Matt Rule administration. That's not to cast aspersions at Jim Grove, who is
doing the best
we know one of the fine gentlemen in the business. But there's been a lot of emotion from Baylor this year, and they are well on their way to snapping their 6-game losing streak. They are putting it on Boise State 31-6. Baylor kicking off again from the 20-yard line after the unsportsmanlike conduct. Their penalty, the 5th of the 9. Cedric Wilson returns it out close to the 40-yard line. Final 2 minutes and 13 seconds of this Motel 6 Cactus Bowl. And Jim Grove is going to finish up his tenure here at Baylor with a winning record this season. He's going to move to 4-2 in his career in bowl games, his 20th year as a head coach. Being 117, 121 at one. But remember, he had rebuilding efforts early in his career, particularly at Wake Forest, where he had great success. I asked Jim this week that after all he'd been through and the discord on the coaching staff and at times with the locker room, there were some unfortunate incidents, to put it mildly. Asked him if, knowing what he knew now, would he take the job again? And always the gentleman, he very graciously said of course he would, because he feels as if he gained 100 more sons by having the opportunity to come in and help. And you see him sharing a hug with his freshman quarterback, Zach Smith. Zach may be setting Jim up for a bath.
Jim Grove is class personified.
Ripping the Spurbeck. Baylor getting ready to celebrate. Boise State hoping maybe they can sneak a touchdown on the board.
Let's get McNichols a touchdown.
He ain't getting back.
What do we have left?
No, he stayed for an extra.
Now he's getting ready for the draft?
Yes. Now he needs to get ready. Down this, you need to get ready for the draft now. Before the game, I like that he decided to come out and play for his team, and now you're a cheerleader.
We had
Fournette sitting at home right now looking at the 19 for 46 and saying, see, should have stayed home, got ready for the draft, like McCaffrey and the rest of the guys.
We were going to have a more in-depth conversation about that.
No, but now it makes sense, Reese.
Cedric Wilson gets out of bounds under a minute and a half to go. I don't know if we have time to dive into this as deeply as perhaps we should, but I wish that everyone felt as if they wanted to play their final game, but I totally understand. Given the business aspect, and Cedric Wilson makes the grab. Did he stay in bounds? He did, and Boise State at least is going to have the consolation prize of a touchdown. Cedric Wilson with his 11th touchdown catch of the season. Junior college transfer from Coffeyville Community College. Dad, Cedric Sr., played in the NFL with the Steelers and the Niners. Let's see if Cedric got a foot down. Yes, sir. Got to control the catch to the ground, no question about that. And now maybe just for old time's sake, maybe Boise State will run the Statue of Liberty, just one conversion play.
That'd be awesome.
They might as well get some work in, right? Also, Alexander Madison, who saw number 22 back in the game, he was helped off earlier, so that was certainly good news for the Broncos. On a night that has been painfully short of it for Boise State. Ripping on the roll, after firing, and it's picked off. And now maybe an opportunity for two the other way, but Taylor Young is caught from behind, and Grove appreciating the effort.
Another great defensive play by Baylor. And again, I don't know if I can say it enough. I am surprised. I am surprised that we're talking this much about this Baylor defense against an offense of Boise State that has been impressive all season long. And Baylor has come in and played well. Now, can they build on it? Can they continue this when Matt Rule takes over? Can they build on this defensive performance?
And Matt Rule, if you've watched him at Temple and throughout his coaching career, I mean, his teams are tough, man. I mean, you could tell he's got a great command, a great presence about him. That's why I think he'll be successful. I think he'll be successful in recruiting because of that. And I think he'll be successful at Baylor because of his personality and his grind and style. It'll look a little different. It's not going to be what you're used to.
Right. We've seen Charlie Strong go to the Big 12, and he's a talented defensive coach.
Yep.
Went to the Big 12 and struggled. We'll see if Matt Rule can go to the Big 12 and have a different result. But it's been tough. As you mentioned earlier, it is tough to play defense in the Big 12. Nobody does it very well. Offenses are really tough. Charlie Strong couldn't figure it out. Now let's see what Matt Rule does at Baylor. But tonight's defense has given the Baylor fans something to be excited about.
Matt Rule, solid job, and now he'll get his opportunity at Baylor. I think it's difficult sometimes for coaches to transcend natural fit, whether that's geographic or whatever, and because of that, some wondered if Matt Rule would fit. When we asked him about that when he was with us earlier, mentioned, you know, building relationships and the People in Texas love football, which he does too. And the onside kick took a couple of good hops, went out of bounds, and that will draw the flag. And people are getting ice bucket bass. Phil Bennett just got it on the sideline. Now they're sneaking up on Grove. This one's going to feel good to Jim. He's going to like this one.
His last one.
Here's a good one. Isn't it funny?
How did he not see that?
I know, but you know,
the entire sideline move.
No, he wanted it. That's okay.
He was happy.
Bask in the
He was
moment,
happy to get one.
I hear sometimes the debate that, you know, we should be over this. We should do something else. You still get a chuckle out of it in the right moment. You know, something like this. This was a cool thing for him, for a team that on that 6-game losing streak, only 2 of the games were decided by fewer than 3 touchdowns. Baylor rarely played well during that skid.
I mean, even it sometimes looked like quit.
Yeah,
You could say.
I was being diplomatic, but
Yeah.
you know what? You're
TCU
right.
game?
The TCU game was awful, and for them to show up and under this setting, and the change coming, and to play this way with this kind of fire and enthusiasm, and with this level of execution, I think speaks well for Jim and his ability to keep the staff going, and really his ability to keep the players wanting to do it one more time. Kendall Briles,
Never seen as
getting
many
a bath on his way.
Never seen as many ice baths at the end of a game.
And Baylor gets the victory. They'll finish with a 7-6 record. A 31-12 win in the Motel 6 Cactus Bowl. Jim Grove makes his way. Meet Brian Harsin in the middle of the field. Final time, in all likelihood, as a head coach in college football. One of the gentlemen of the sport. You'll see Jim and the Bears accept a trophy for winning this bowl game live on ESPN3. That's immediately following our coverage, and Molly McGrath is working her way in position now, and she's got Jim with her right now. Molly?
All right, thank you, Reese. Coach hugging one of his players after a hard-fought win. You willingly took on a big challenge here at Baylor. You said this was the toughest year of your coaching career, but it ended with a Gatorade bath. How meaningful is it after everything to end your time with this group with a win?
Well, the win for me is special, but really, Molly, the win for the team is so much more important. And these guys have been through a lot of adversity. Really no roadmap for what we've been through, and I'm proud of our coaches, proud of our team. This is just a great win for us to finish the season, and I couldn't be prouder of our team and our coaches.
You said that off-field issues really got to your team, especially during that 6-game losing streak. How did you hit a reset button, refocus this group to win this bowl game?
Well, it wasn't easy. We lost our way for a couple games, and then we tried to get it back, weren't very good, and by the end of the season at West Virginia, we really were back to coaching and playing, and I had a feeling that we might be able to play good tonight, but you never know in a bowl game, so I'm just so proud of our players and coaches for what they've been able to accomplish.
Your freshman quarterback, Zach Smith, grew up before our eyes tonight. How promising is that moving forward for this program?
Well, I think it's really good for Baylor football. I don't think there's any question about it. And I know Matt Rule's going to enjoy coaching this kid because he's not only talented, he's a great kid. He's been through a lot, and he just worked his way each week to getting better and better and better. I couldn't be more proud of our team, but really proud of a young quarterback that really matured tonight.
All right, thank you, Coach. Congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
Molly, Jim, thank you very much. An inspired performance from Baylor tonight. They just took Boise State apart. Clutch plays on the defensive end in their red zone, forcing turnovers, and they run away with it behind a virtuoso performance from KD Cannon. That's going to do it for us from Phoenix. Joey Galloway, David Pollock, Molly McGrath, and our entire ESPN crew. I'm Reese Davis saying goodnight. Capital One post-game trophy ceremony coming up on ESPN3. Right now, let's send you to the studio and Sports Center.